this lady? Like, America, you understand, this is a person who's actually part of running your country.
Do you advocate to President Trump to impose martial law as a way to remain in power?
I don't recall.
You don't recall if you wanted to impose martial law?
America's the greatest country in the world. We need conservatives in Washington that will keep it that way. Stay the hell out of Northwest Georgia.
God damn! I know which house I'm skipping on Halloween. And by the way, everyone's freaking out about Greene's QAnon beliefs, but if you ask me, the scarier cult she's involved in is CrossFit. I mean, that's just Scientology with jumping jack. That Greene has some wild racist theory for every group. I mean, no wonder she got elected. Because she's like, I want to be a congresswoman for everyone. Whether you hate Jews, blacks, Muslims, or filthy Canadians, I'm on your side.
If there's one person Democrats can't stand more than Trump, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yet we might owe her thanks for the endless comedy she provides. Back in the day, Trevor Noah already exposed her for the fraud she is. So today, let's revisit the Trump saga with Trevor Noah hilariously dismantling MTG. Prepare to laugh harder than ever. This was the time of social distancing, but it didn't stop Trevor Noah from exposing MTG.
Meet Marjorie Taylor Greene. In Congress, she represents Georgia's 14th district, right outside Atlanta. And in life, she represents some views right outside of reality.
MTG represents viewpoints that appear to exist outside of reality itself. She continues to be a big cause of divisiveness and polarizing policies in our society today. Trevor Noah's 2020 words are as pertinent as ever. Now let's watch as Trevor Noah dismantles her in the following segments.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is hardly the first member of Congress to hold some out-there beliefs. I mean, Ted Cruz believes that beard is working for him.
This is just the start. Back in 2020, Trevor Noah completely dismantled MTG and the Republicans. Despite Trump's potential dismay, what's still intriguing is how his critique remains relevant, especially when considering the bizarre world of QAnon, a far-right conspiracy theory centered around anonymous claims by Q. Let's hear Trevor's take on this ongoing saga.
But QAnon is not just extreme, it's delusional, people. How are you going to be in the government and believe that the government is full of Satan-worshipping predators? I mean, it must be exhausting to be walking around the halls of Congress, just constantly opening doors like, aha! No, just a supply closet.
I often wonder how people can vote for politicians like Trump and MTG when they hold such irrational beliefs. Trying to wake up MAGAs is like trying to send missions to the moon. Difficult, but at least the moon has less conspiracy theories. But Trevor Noah knows how to show Trump and MTG their true place. See this.
It seems like Greene has a conspiracy theory for every letter of the alphabet.
In a newly uncovered video from 2018, claimed former President Obama is Muslim, the Clintons had JFK Jr. killed, the Trump-backing Republican embraces completely false QAnon conspiracy theories.
Now I ask all Trump supporters, how can MTG with such beliefs work for the betterment of people, but how can we put sense into the minds of Trumpy's cult supporters? But Democrats, Trevor Noah's blast from the past has something more for you, because MTG once claimed that Democrats have body doubles.
RBG has a body double. Hillary Clinton has a body double. This one makes it sound like everyone has their own body double. I mean, that's such a silly thing to believe. Yo, The Weeknd, they're on to us. Get out of there, man. Run!
That was a good one, Trevor. But here's the big question. How did MTG end up in Congress? Well, she lucked out by being one of 9 Republicans running for the seat. Everyone's attention got spread so thin, it's like all the Oreo flavors distracting you from the fact that one tastes like human flesh.
And by the way, everyone's freaking out about Greene's QAnon beliefs, but if you ask me, the scarier cult she's involved in is CrossFit. I mean, that's just Scientology with jumping jack.
Imagine instead of e-meter readings, they're analyzing your squat form for thetans. It's like they're trying to cleanse your body and your soul at the same time. Double the pressure. Well, MTG's rise to prominence feels like accidentally buying organic at the grocery store. Expensive, confusing, and you're not quite sure what you're getting yourself into until it's too late. Trying to wake up MAGAs is like trying to explain TikTok to your grandparents. It's a journey that usually ends with bewildered stares and maybe a few accidental likes. It's a challenge bigger than convincing your dog that the mailman isn't a sworn enemy. Sometimes perception is everything, even if it's totally off track. But the next clip will give Trump and MTG a run for their money.
A lot of Greene's beliefs are pretty typical for today's Republicans. But she also has a little extra something that makes the far right love her even more. It's racism.
Yes, populist leaders often perpetuate racism through their comments, and unfortunately their party members follow suit. MTG is a prime example. Her racist remarks are not justifiable. Constructive criticism is one thing, but her behavior crosses a line. It's like trying to explain Twitter to a goldfish. There's just no way they're going to understand the nuances of cancel culture and hashtags. Do we really need divisive figures like MTG in Congress who mock others instead of uniting? Remember, she even bullied Jasmine Crockett. Is this what Congress has come to, where professionalism and decency in politics seem like relics of the past, buried deeper than the last season of Tiger King? It's like trying to bring civility to a family Thanksgiving dinner after grandma's spiked the punch. Awkward, messy, and no one's sure who's going to apologize first. And now Trevor Noah has more in the office, especially when it comes to January 6th. See how he mocks fake Republicans for calling out for a revolution.
It's time for the people to rise up and take back their freedoms. Excuse me, can I get another towel, please? Because I'm going to the pool. Yeah, thank you so much. Let's spill some blood!
Hey, what can we expect from the folks who stormed the Capitol on January 6th? Well, let's just say their idea of a cultural exchange program involves trading Big Macs for Bud Light. It's like trying to teach a cat to do taxes, confusing, potentially dangerous, and definitely not going to end well for anyone involved.
Mostly what voters knew about her was that she was a hardcore Trump supporter. And yeah, she sometimes sounded like a crazy person.
Democrat Party is no longer an American party. They are now the party of socialism. They want to rip our borders wide open. They want to kill babies up until birth and maybe even afterwards.
Look, man, I mean, clearly this person is unqualified for Congress, all right? Because politicians are supposed to be good at lying, okay? This was just embarrassing.
And through it all, Trevor Noah is there, shining a light on their antics like a beacon of reason in a sea of chaos, because sometimes laughter is the best way to handle a situation that's more absurd than a soap opera plot twist. Even today, MTG continues to thrive on chaos, mocking others and sowing panic like she's auditioning for a role in a reality TV show about political sabotage. It's like she's trying to turn Congress into a circus, but forgot to bring the popcorn. Her antics make you wonder if she's secretly funded by the popcorn industry, because you're gonna need a lot to get through her speeches without rolling your eyes.
Marjorie Taylor Greene also has a track record of incendiary and racist rhetoric.
There is an Islamic invasion into our government offices right now. You stay over there in the Middle East. You stay there and go to Mecca and do all your thing, and you know what? You can have a whole bunch of wives or goats or sheep or whatever you want.
A now deleted Facebook post, Greene questioned whether California's deadly campfire in 2018 was started by lasers beamed down from outer space.
We need to end politicians like her by using our votes wisely. After all, voting is our chance to decide who gets to run the country, not who gets the last laugh on late night TV. It's like choosing between a vegan barbecue and a hot dog eating contest. Sure, one might be healthier in the long run, but the other promises more excitement and heartburn.
Marjorie Taylor Greene came to Washington calling for executions, and a few weeks later she's already settling for impeachment? Man, I guess Congress will turn anyone into a moderate. She's making Republicans look unhinged. She's from Georgia, which we all know is a blue state, and she's a member of Congress, which she herself believes is a satanic, demonic cult. That would be the only way that Republicans would actually want to hold her accountable for anything she's done.
And let's face it, MTG's idea of bipartisanship is like trying to get a cat and a dog to agree on the best spot for a nap. Unlikely, messy, and someone's probably getting scratched. Her approach to governance makes you question if she read the rule book or just decided to wing it like a game of Monopoly with no banker. But fear not, because Trevor Noah is always ready to expose the absurdity of her actions like a comedy superhero with a mic instead of a cape, because sometimes laughter is the best response to chaos.
So now that all these death threats and conspiracy theories have come to light, Congress is trying to figure out how to deal with Greene. Do you use a secret Jewish space laser to distract her like a cat? I mean, one thing's for sure, while Congress tries to decide what to do with her, she's out there getting stuff done herself.
Filed articles of impeachment on President Joe Biden. We'll see how this goes.
Like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while riding a unicycle, challenging, entertaining, and guaranteed to leave everyone wondering how we got here in the first place. So as we navigate the political landscape, let's remember that our votes count, not just for today, but for the future we want to see. Because in the end, whether you prefer your politics served with a side of satire or straight up, we all deserve leaders who unite us with ideas, not divide us with distractions.
You don't, wow! I wish I had Marjorie Taylor Greene's memory. Yeah, I once said enjoy your dinner to a waiter in 2003. If she told the president to impose martial law, yo, let me tell you something. That should be an easy one for most people. Have I ever tried to steal a horse and ride it inside a bouncy castle?
I have another piece of advice for people considering voting for Trump again. Let's revisit his time from 2016 to 2020 and examine his performance. During his first term, Trump's presidency was marked by a series of controversies and policy decisions that polarized the nation. From the very beginning, his administration set a tone that was confrontational and divisive. He wasted no time in pushing forward with his campaign promises, often bypassing conventional political norms and procedures.
Marjorie Taylor Greene spent the entire hearing denying that she had any memory of anything to do with January 6th. One thing that can bring it back, even if just for a little bit, is evidence.
In fact, you think that Speaker Pelosi is a traitor to the country, right?
I'm not answering that question.
His initial actions, such as the travel ban targeting predominantly Muslim countries, set the stage for a presidency that would be defined by its contentious approach to immigration and national security. One of the central themes of Trump's presidency was his approach to the economy.
It's odd, there's never any evidence shown for a plane in the Pentagon.
Facebook posts have surfaced in which Greene called the deadly Parkland High School shooting fake.
Maybe you accomplish that by performing a mass shooting into a crowd that is very likely to be conservative.
Yeah, like the body double for Hillary Clinton. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
So
I do not believe that was Ruth. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't either.
He frequently touted the strength of the economy under his administration, pointing to factors like job growth and tax cuts as evidence of his success. However, critics argue that much of this economic growth was a continuation of trends that began under previous administrations, particularly in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis. Moreover, Trump's trade policies, such as the imposition of tariffs on goods from countries like China, sparked fears of a trade war that could have far-reaching consequences for global economic stability. On the international stage, Trump's foreign policy was characterized by a combination of isolationist rhetoric and unpredictable decision-making. He often clashed with traditional allies over issues such as NATO funding and the Iran nuclear deal, while simultaneously pursuing diplomatic engagements with adversaries like North Korea. His approach to diplomacy was unconventional, relying heavily on personal relationships with foreign leaders rather than established diplomatic channels. Trump's handling of domestic issues also drew significant criticism. His efforts to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, commonly known as Obamacare, were met with resistance from both political opponents and healthcare professionals concerned about the potential impact on millions of Americans who rely on the healthcare law for coverage. The administration's response to natural disasters such as Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico was also heavily scrutinized, with critics arguing that federal relief efforts were inadequate and slow to materialize. Throughout his presidency, Trump's relationship with the media remained contentious. He frequently accused mainstream media outlets of spreading fake news and sought to discredit journalists who challenged his statements or policies. This adversarial stance towards the press raised concerns about press freedom and the role of the media in holding public officials accountable. Perhaps one of the most enduring legacies of Trump's presidency will be his approach to environmental policy. Under his administration, significant rollbacks were made to environmental regulations aimed at addressing climate change and protecting natural resources. Trump withdrew the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement, a landmark international accord aimed at reducing global greenhouse gas emissions, arguing that it placed an undue burden on American businesses and taxpayers. Trump's presidency was also marked by a series of scandals and investigations that cast a shadow over his administration. Special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and potential collusion with the Trump campaign loomed large for much of his first term. While the investigation ultimately did not establish collusion, it did lead to multiple indictments and convictions of individuals associated with Trump's inner circle. In his bid for re-election in 2020, Trump faced criticism for his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, which emerged as a defining issue of his presidency. The administration's initial response to the pandemic was widely criticized as slow and disjointed, with delays in testing and contradictory messaging from public health officials. Trump himself downplayed the severity of the virus at times, suggesting it would disappear on its own and promoting unproven treatments. The economic impact of the pandemic further strained Trump's re-election prospects as millions of Americans lost their jobs and businesses shuttered their doors in response to lockdown measures aimed at curbing the spread of the virus. The administration's efforts to provide economic relief, such as the distribution of stimulus checks and the Paycheck Protection Program for small businesses, were met with mixed reviews and accusations of favoritism. As the 2020 election approached, Trump's campaign focused heavily on issues of law and order, portraying himself as a defender of traditional American values against what he described as radical leftist movements. He sought to capitalize on fears of civil unrest and violence in cities across the country, often conflating peaceful protests against racial injustice with acts of looting and vandalism. The election itself was marred by unprecedented challenges, including concerns about the integrity of mail-in voting and allegations of voter fraud. Trump and his legal team mounted numerous legal challenges in battleground states where he narrowly lost to Democratic challenger Joe Biden. Despite these efforts, the outcome of the election was ultimately certified by Congress, and Biden was inaugurated as the 46th president of the United States in January 2021. Looking back on Trump's presidency, it is clear that his tenure was marked by significant upheaval and controversy. His approach to governance was unconventional, often defying political norms and conventions that had long guided presidential behavior. While his supporters praised his willingness to challenge the status quo and speak directly to their concerns, critics argued that his presidency undermined democratic institutions and exacerbated divisions within American society. In assessing President Biden's performance, it's important to look beyond age and consider his actions and policies. Despite being one of the oldest presidents in U.S. history, Biden has shown that age doesn't define capability or honesty. Unlike his predecessor, Biden has been widely regarded as truthful and has made transparency a cornerstone of his administration. During his first year in office, Biden has tackled a wide range of issues from the COVID-19 pandemic to economic recovery and climate change. His administration's response to the pandemic has been marked by a commitment to science and public health, in stark contrast to the previous administration's mixed messaging and skepticism towards expert advice. Biden's efforts to ramp up vaccine distribution and promote mask wearing have been credited with helping to curb the spread of the virus and save lives. Economically, Biden has pushed for ambitious legislation aimed at rebuilding the economy and addressing long-standing inequalities. The American Rescue Plan, passed early in his presidency, provided direct relief to individuals and families, expanded access to health care, and supported small businesses struggling to stay afloat during the pandemic. His infrastructure and jobs agenda, known as the Build Back Better plan, seeks to invest in infrastructure, clean energy, and education with the goal of creating millions of jobs and positioning the United States for long-term economic growth. Biden's approach to foreign policy has also been characterized by a return to multilateralism and diplomatic engagement. He has sought to rebuild relationships with traditional allies such as NATO and the European Union, which were strained under the previous administration. His decision to rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement signaled a commitment to addressing climate change on the global stage, and his administration has taken steps to reassert American leadership in international forums. One of the defining features of Biden's presidency has been his efforts to promote unity and bipartisanship in a deeply divided political landscape. He has reached across the aisle to work with Republicans on issues like infrastructure and criminal justice reform. Although progress has often been hampered by partisan gridlock in Congress, Biden has emphasized the importance of healing the nation's divisions and restoring faith in democratic institutions, drawing a sharp contrast to the tumultuous and often divisive rhetoric of his predecessor. Critics of Biden's presidency have raised concerns about the cost and scope of his policy agenda, particularly as it relates to government spending and taxation. The Build Back Better plan, in particular, has faced opposition from Republicans and some moderate Democrats who argue that its price tag is too high and its provisions too expansive. Additionally, Biden's handling of immigration issues, such as the situation at the southern border, has drawn criticism from both sides of the political aisle, with some arguing that his approach is too lenient and others calling for more compassionate treatment of migrants and asylum seekers. Despite these challenges, Biden's approval ratings have generally been stable, reflecting broad support for his handling of the pandemic and efforts to rebuild the economy. His administration's response to crises such as the withdrawal from Afghanistan and natural disasters like hurricanes and wildfires has been closely scrutinized, with mixed reviews from the public and political commentators alike. Looking ahead, Biden faces a number of key challenges, including ongoing efforts to combat COVID-19 and its variants, navigate complex foreign policy issues, and push forward with his domestic policy agenda. agenda. The outcome of the 2022 midterm elections will likely have significant implications for the remainder of his presidency, as Democrats seek to maintain control of Congress and advance their legislative priorities. In conclusion, while President Biden faces significant challenges and criticism, particularly from political opponents, his first year in office has been marked by a commitment to honesty, transparency, and addressing the pressing issues facing the country. Whether he can deliver on his ambitious agenda and unite a deeply divided nation remains to be seen, but his approach to governance thus far suggests a willingness to confront challenges head-on and work towards meaningful solutions.